Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast, an outreach of Greater Works Christian Church here in Lancaster, California. I am your host, Robert Enos. If you like what you hear, visit us at gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Find the Table Flippers link, click on it, and you'll get to our merchandise. Now, get ready for a huge dose of truth and a huge dose of common sense. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? Today is Thursday, April 13th, 2023. The reason I went, is because I looked up there and my little calendar on the top of my computer says THU, Thursday, APR, April 13, and then it says 2:19 p.m. And that caught me off guard because it just hit me like, oh, it's not 2019. So I was like, whoa, where have I been? You know, what happened to me? It's 2023 at 2:19 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. So I just thought I would share in my little bit of my crazy mind there with you. Anyways, today I want to talk to you about something that's extremely disturbing to me. In anywhere in the world, this would be disturbing, but especially here in these United States of America. And I heard about this maybe about 3 days ago. And I didn't really look into it too much because my mind was on some other things. And then today it hit me again. Oh yeah, I want to go back and read some of those articles and read up on this to try to figure this out. Because what it was there was this story about the FBI spying or attempting to spy on churches, and in particular Catholic churches. Now, the reality of it is, if they're doing this with the Catholic Church, they're doing this with every other church, all right? But that really caught my attention because, religion, our freedom of religion, our right, and this is not government-given right, this is God-given right, but our God-given right to worship Him in the manner that we see fit, all right? And so when we go to church on Sunday, or if you go to church on Saturday or any other day of the week, you should be able to go without any kind of concern or fear of somebody spying on you for nefarious reasons. And anyways, when I looked into this, it was really disturbing what I found and the excuses that I found that the FBI used for this. So anyways, this is a story out of Newsweek. And when I Googled this, I did my little Google search. There was many articles because, like I've said before, many people get on, all you do is at Fox News. You are brainwashed by Fox News. You got brainwashed Fox News. The only reason I go to Fox News often, other than doing these podcasts, I get my news from different sources, and I often cross-check because if I read something, let's say in Fox News, I don't take it automatically at face value. I'll read it and look at it in other sources just to see if the story jives. One reason why I stay completely away from CNN, although I had this idea earlier today that I'm going to start using some CNN articles really just for fun. There was a scene in Nacho Libre where he is getting dressed in his wrestling outfit, and one of the young men in the orphanage comes around the corner and stands at the door. and Nacho turns around and says, Chancho, sometimes men like to wear stretchy pants. It's for fun. So I'm just going to pull a Nacho on you guys at some point, and just for fun, pull some CNN articles and maybe some MSNBC, really just so we can sit and laugh. And just, so I can yell, I can scream, I can laugh, I can have a good time, vent, maybe release some of that inner pressure and have my blood pressure go down. Because that's what basically CNN does for me. It either makes me really, really angry where the blood pressure skyrockets, or I start laughing at them because it's so ridiculous that my blood pressure actually goes down. Because, even the Bible says that laughter is a great medicine. So I need to laugh more, so I'm going to start reading CNN, the Communist News Network, or was it the Clinton News Network? Either way, it doesn't really matter. I might just start, listening to them, reading them, and maybe even the BBC for a little international humor. Anyways, I shouldn't laugh because today's topic is extremely serious, and I want to be able to take it serious, but I can't help myself when I think of some of the silliness out there that people actually get into and actually believe. So I'll leave it at that. So here we are, Newsweek. This was published by Catherine Fung on April 10th. So that's 3 days ago, 2023. 3 days ago. It says, FBI used undercover agent to target Catholic Church. This is Jim Jordan said that, or claimed that. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, allegedly used an undercover agent to target the clergy and leadership of the Catholic Church, according to GOP Representative Jim Jordan. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to point this out once again because I'm going to keep doing this until it really starts making a radical impact in all of our lives. And some of you that listen to this podcast that are not in the United States of America, I understand that you may not deal with the same, type of party as the Republican Party or this type of party of the Democrat Party. And many nations actually have many more political parties that can actually get voted in, get elected in. We basically have two for the most part, Democrat and Republican. And so when I say this, just grab hold of the principles. You don't have to worry about, the title Republican or the title Democrat. Grab hold of the principles. And if you look honestly at your political system, and of course I'm again speaking primarily to the people outside of the United States. But if you look at your political system and how it works, you'll find these principles at work. You will find the people who genuinely their policies are helpful to people, beneficial to the country and to the people of that country. And then you'll find the political parties that are self-serving. The people in the party, especially at the top, are getting very wealthy. All the laws seem to work in their behalf, but work against you. And you can clearly see these things in the political landscape. So instead of trying to figure out who's the Republicans, just find the parties that, again, are making it work for you and then making it work for themselves. All right. Anyways, let me get back to this. So, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, allegedly used an undercover agent to target the clergy and leadership of the Catholic Church, according to GOP Representative Jim Jordan. Jordan issued a subpoena to FBI Director Christopher Wray, I believe that's how his name is pronounced, W-R-A-Y, Wray, related to his committee's investigation into the FBI's alleged targeting of Catholic parishioners. The Republicans said that enlisting clergy to monitor their parishes prevents Americans who attend church from being able to exercise their First Amendment rights. That was 3 bullet points at the kind of subtitles for this article. The actual article says this: the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, allegedly used undercover agent to target the clergy and leadership of the Catholic Church, according to GOP Representative Jim Jordan. On Monday, Jordan, who chairs the House Judiciary Committee, sent a letter to the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, alerting Wray that he was being subpoenaed for an investigation into the agency's handling of a domestic extremism analysis that proposed developing sources among church leaders to look for signs of radicalization among Catholic parishioners. The subpoena is the latest development in Jordan's probe into the FBI's alleged misuse of domestic violent extremism resources. House Republicans first accused Wray of exploiting those resources for political purposes after an 8-page internal memo was leaked by a former special agent. The FBI told Newsweek in a statement that the agency received that subpoena and that it remains fully committed to cooperating with Congress's oversight requests consistent with its constitutional and statutory responsibilities. The FBI is actively working to respond to congressional requests for information, including voluntary production of documents, the agency said on Monday. Back in February, former FBI agent Kyle Seraphin leaked a memo that revealed plans to spy on a Catholic denomination in Richmond, Virginia, as part of an effort to protect people from the threat of white supremacy, a threat that the FBI believed to have found a home within Catholics who prefer the Latin Mass. The Latin Mass, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a Catholic, but if I understand it correctly, the Latin Mass is the more traditional, we're talking about like the old school Catholic Mass. It was done all in Latin. And if I understand it correctly, and please, if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to in any way butcher this on purpose, but if I'm wrong, somebody write me and correct me. But I believe that at least early on, maybe, in ancient times, I guess you could say, the Catholic Church believed Latin was the holy language, or, more holy than whatever common language was used. So they would do the Mass in Latin, regardless of where it was in the world. And one of the problems with that is most people, including Catholics, don't speak Latin, so they didn't even know what was being said. So they started doing it into the more home language, here in America, that would be English. And but some people still prefer the Latin Mass, the old school Latin Mass, which is fine for me. So anyways, the FBI believed that the white supremacy, the threat of white supremacy, found a home within Catholics who prefer the Latin Mass, so that old school, more traditional old school Latin Mass. I honestly, it blows my mind. I'm sitting there thinking, no, because the more traditional Catholics that prefer the Latin Mass, those are like the old school, very devout Catholics. They don't get caught up in all of this supremacy garbage. And the reason I say only supremacy, if they're white, they don't get caught up in white supremacy. If they're black, they don't get caught up in black supremacy. If they're Latino, Hispanic, they don't get caught up in the Hispanic or Latino supremacy kind of mentality, whether they call it that or not. They just don't. They're usually very conservative, good people, and that's the key. They are conservative. And this left-leaning, liberal-leaning FBI that we are dealing with today is targeting conservatives. Notice they weren't targeting the liberal leg, if you will, or arm of the Catholic Church. They were after the more conservative arm of the Catholic Church. Anyways, let me finish this. The FBI issued a statement last month and has said the memo does not meet the exacting standards of the agency and that headquarters have removed it from the system upon learning of the document. The matter is currently undergoing internal review. Internal review. In other words, the FBI is looking at the FBI's problem. How do you think that's going to go? In his March 8 testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee, Wray described being aghast by the memo and said his agency does not conduct investigations based on religious affiliation or practices. Full stop. Christopher Dunham, the acting assistant director of congressional affairs, also said in a March 23rd statement, the FBI is not anti-Catholic in any way, shape, or form and does not target people of any faith because of their religious beliefs. Well, that's an absolute flat lie because we're dealing with it right now. That's what this whole article and what's behind the article is all about. The FBI targeting the Catholic Church, especially those who prefer the Latin Mass. I mean, see, this is what I get tired of parroting and saying the same thing over and over again. I know many of you don't even know what a record is, but I sound like a broken record sometimes. But I'm going to say it again because it needs to be said. Democrats, liberals, Democrats, all right, they are liars. They can't tell the truth to save their life. The FBI is so corrupt right now because of all the liberal and liberal-mindedness in it. I'm not saying every FBI agent. Please don't misunderstand me. There are so many phenomenal, great agents in the FBI. Just like our local police departments, our local sheriff's department, they are some spectacular people in these departments doing a phenomenal job. A great job. The problem is the few bad apples, especially if those apples make it to the top somewhere, and then it corrupts everything from that position down. Not necessarily the agent, the good agent that's just there doing his job, but just because of the protocols and what they are expected to do and not do, it corrupts everything. Not everyone, but everything. So my hat actually goes off to you hardworking FBI agents, police, the police, sheriff's deputies, all of you. My hat goes off to you for your hard work, your diligence, your love for this country, and your desire to just protect people of this country, and as it says on the LAPT, to serve and to protect. I appreciate that. But the few bad apples, I'm just going to say like this: you good guys in there, just like this one that leaked this memo, this document that started this whole thing. I think some of you need to start leaking some more things out to target and get rid of the bad apples that are making you all look bad. Even though you're doing a fantastic job, even though, some of you are doing a phenomenal, over-the-top job, it's those bad apples that you kind of have this guilty by association thing going on because you're part of the same department. So it's time to really start targeting these people. And I don't know how, because I'm not in that yet. And I'm not even saying this to, the truth is, I'm saying this to get rid of the nonsense and to get rid of those bad apples so that you guys can do your job. And I really, again, I appreciate, and probably 95% of you are phenomenal. It's that 5% that messes everything up. So anyways, let me get back to this. So this guy just lied. He says the FBI is not anti-Catholic in any way, shape, or form. It does not target people of any faith because of their religious beliefs. And that's a lie, but nonetheless, let's go on. Attorney General listen to this again, ladies and gentlemen. Remember how I started out with this, the difference between Republican and Democrats. Attorneys General from 19 Republican-led states have also penned a letter to Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland condemning the memo and asking for additional information. It was 19 Republican-led states, attorney generals from 19 Republican-led states. No mention of Democrats. No mention of Democrats rising up and saying, hey, what's going on? Why are they targeting Catholics? No mention of that. Even though, and this is the strange thing about it, even though many of those Democrats claim to be Catholic. See, when it comes right down to it, rubber meets the road, brass tacks, as they would say, when it comes right down to it, that Democrat liberal mindset doesn't care about anything but themselves. It's wicked at its core. So many of these Democrats that claim to be Catholic are not even coming to the defense of the Catholic Church that they claim to be. Why? Because they're first Democrats. Because if they were first Catholic, they would even put aside the Democrat mindset for the moment and go support their church. But it's clear that they put themselves and their political affiliations before God and the way that they claim to worship God. I mean, do you see that? Do you see how strange that is with them? Let me keep reading. In Monday's letter, Jordan said that based on the limited information produced by the FBI to the committee, documents from the agency show that Catholic houses of worship were enlisted as sources to help monitor and report on parishioners. Jordan said that engaging in such outreach prevents Americans who attend church from being able to exercise their First Amendment rights without worrying that the FBI may have planted so-called tripwire sources or other informants in the house of worship. The FBI purported to categorize Catholic Americans based on theological distinctions and relied on the Southern Poverty Law Center to suggest that certain kinds of Catholic Americans may be domestic terrorists, Jordan said. This shocking information reinforces our need for all responsible documents, and the committee is issuing a subpoena to you to compel your full cooperation, the Republican wrote to the agency's director. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about this for just a moment. Whether you're Catholic or not, that's not really the point. Okay, whatever religion you adhere to, whatever religion or denomination you adhere to and that you claim, I want you to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you going to church on Sunday or on Saturday, you go to synagogue on Saturday, or you go to a mosque if you're Muslim, so you go to your mosque, you go to your church, you go to your synagogue, and in those places, often people that attend, they tend to pour out their heart, maybe to one another, a fellow parishioner who's there, a family member, a church leader, pastor, a priest. I don't know what the Muslims call them. Imam. Anyways, whoever the leader is of that particular place is, that place of worship, and they pour their heart out. Can you imagine if there's an FBI agent within earshot listening to your private conversation, to maybe even a church member, or maybe a pastor, church leader, or the synagogue leader, the rabbi, and you're really, maybe you're going through something. Maybe you're not going through something. Maybe it's just casual conversation, and they're listening. Or, I don't know if it's gone this far, so please, I'm not trying to add to this story, but it wouldn't be beyond me if they're willing to put this out there, and they're willing to say this, and they're willing to move upon this, then there's could be, very well be, listening devices within that church, synagogue, or mosque. All right, in this case, a Catholic church. So can you imagine you going to your house of worship? If you're a Christian, you go to your church. If you're a Catholic, you go, to the church. If you're Jewish, you go to the synagogue, or you go to the mosque if you're a Muslim. And you're talking, or you're pouring out your heart in prayer maybe to God. And there's some listening device that the FBI put there because they labeled you a domestic terrorist. And here you are just maybe in confession. Catholics, I know this, and it's a very sacred thing, that time and that place of confession. They go to the little confessional booth or the box, and there's a priest on the other side, and they confess their sins. Could you imagine if there was a listening device in, around, or near that confessional, listening to everything that you're saying, that you're pouring out your heart to the priest? You're pouring out your heart, and he is sharing how you can overcome that, what you need to do to overcome that obstacle in your life. And lo and behold, there's the FBI listening in. And if they don't hear something that they like, boom, 2:00 in the morning, you get your door kicked in. Why? Because you went to confession a day or two earlier. Think about that for just a moment. And this should concern every American, whether you're religious or not. Because if they can do this, if they can violate the very First Amendment to our Constitution, our right, our freedom of religion, if they can violate that, then they can certainly violate and will violate and have no problem violating every other amendment. In other words, if they can attack that right and that freedom, they can attack any freedom and strip you of any right that you think now you have. Look at what they've been doing with the Second Amendment. That it clearly says that we have the right to keep and bear arms, period. And they try to finagle that and try to make it say or mean other things. Well, it means exactly what it says, that you and I have the right as an American to keep and bear arms. And they come along and say, well, no, there is no on any of this, the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. And they're trampling all over our rights. This is pretty concerning to me. So the question I had when I was reading this is they're targeting Catholics, Catholic churches that go to the Latin Mass as possible domestic terrorists along the lines of, white supremacists. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't misunderstand me. I'm totally against white supremacy or any other racial supremacy, okay? There's one race, the human race. And in that sense, in God's eyes, we're all equal. We're all the same, and we're all been created in God's image. All of us, okay? And so I'm totally against white supremacy. But I'm just trying to figure out when and where in our Constitution. I thought we had the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, and all of that stuff. Since when is it illegal to have the mindset that you're better than somebody else simply because of the color of your skin? I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that if some white guy is foolishly thinking he's better just because he's white, does that make him a terrorist based upon that? Well, the answer to that, of course, is no. Just like if there was a black gentleman or a woman who thought they were better than other people because of the color of their skin, does that mean they're automatically terrorists? Well, of course not. If they want to feel that way, they want to think that way. Come on. We have men in our society that think they're women, and that's celebrated. All right. And both, whether it be supremacy-minded people or transgender-minded people, it's both a mental illness on some level and in some way. And neither of them automatically make them terrorists just by virtue of what's going on in their head. Okay, so I was asking myself, and I reading this because it reminded me of how many people just even recently, over the last few years, we have had these, they call them mass shootings, school shootings and things like that, mass shootings. And at least 4 of them, and I believe it was actually 5. I think there was 5 names, but at least 4 of them that I'm sure of were transgender. So these transgender people walk into, whether it be a school or some place where there's people, and start shooting and killing people. All right, and there was even another one. Here's an article from Advocate. Now, I already spoke upon this. There's already an episode in my podcast that deals with this, but I just wanted to bring this up again just to show you this. And in Advocate, advocate.com, it says, would-be shooter's sister tip-off stops potential Colorado mass shooting. So this 19-year-old, I guess you can call him a man since he was 19, who thought he was a woman and was going through some transition there, decided that he was going to go shoot up at least 3 schools. If I remember the story correctly, there was 3 schools. Yeah, 3 schools that he had planned on going and shooting up, but thank God his sister called and gave a tip. They came in and found his manifesto and all of this stuff. So it says the sister of transgender teen who police says was plotting a mass murder may have prevented another mass shooting in Colorado. Again, 19-year-old. So we have at least 4 transgender people who actually did carry out some murder. And the latest one was in Tennessee by that woman who thought she was a man. Killed 6 people, 3 of them children. We have this would-be murderer in Colorado who wanted to shoot up, I believe it was 3 schools. So I asked myself, I wonder, why is the FBI targeting Catholics, but not the transgender community, when it seems like the transgender community is the one right now that is being so violent and murderous? If there's any, what you can call a community, it would be the transgender community that is so violent, even to the point of murder. Riley, what's her name? Riley Gaines, the swimmer. She was speaking in San Francisco, and she got attacked by a man in a dress for simply saying that men and women are different. So she says something as simple as that, and she gets attacked by a transgender dude who thinks he's a woman. This confused, mentally ill, mentally off. So they're violent, they're attacking, and even their supporters. Like my wife and I. My wife actually works there and everything, but we own Butler's Coffee here in Palmdale, California. All right, best coffee in the world, by the way. And it wasn't so long ago, it was just recently, about a month ago or so, that we got tagged. I mean, the front of our building, spray painted. And then, it's so interesting, about 2 days after that, somebody hits me up on Instagram, all right? And it was a blocked thing, but they sent me a message on Instagram of all things, calling me names and everything, and it was somebody who supports the transgender movement and the transgender ideology. They were, cussing me out, calling me names, and all this and that. Were those two? Were they related? I don't know, but they were related in the sense. I don't know if they were directly related, but related in the sense that it was people that tagged Butlers against Palmdale Freedom Coalition (PFC) because they put papers up on the door calling us transphobic and fascists. And then it's interesting that this gentleman that hits me up on Instagram called me the same exact names 2 days later, unprovoked. I didn't even know who this guy is. And I kept saying, let's meet. He threatened my life. He threatened to fight with me. And I said, now you're threatening me. He said, you threatened me first. I said, by asking you to meet? You see, they don't they don't have the capacity to process things in a healthy, correct manner. I said, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee so that we can see one another face to face and talk about this. He processed it as, I want to fight you, so that he comes back a little while later in the conversation and says, I'm going to beat you up, kind of a thing, Now you're threatening my life? No, you threatened me first. You guys can't even process it. Again, all of this goes back to mental illness. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. It's mental illness on every level. So anyways, back to the FBI. Hey, FBI, I want to ask you guys a question. Have you infiltrated the transgender movement? I mean, how many of your FBI agents have infiltrated in? I mean, how many of your male agents put on some makeup and dresses and infiltrated in? How many of your agents have been dancing around in these drag queen shows, listening to and seeing which one of them is going to be the next shooter? Have you done that? Have you at least done that? Because if not, you're barking up the wrong tree with these Latin mass Catholics. You're barking up the wrong tree. And so that tells me that you either somebody there behind this is really has a bias against Catholics and probably most religious people, but doesn't have that same bias against these murderous transgender people, these violent transgender people, these men in dresses. I mean, come on, let's face it. Let's just be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Any man that puts on a dress, makeup, and then does the Dylan Mulvaney nonsense, they're not dealing with a full deck of cards upstairs, okay? It's just the way it is. I don't really want to beat up on them because I feel sorry for them, to be honest with you. But I don't feel sorry for them when they start getting violent and getting foolish like that. Now they're shooting up schools, murdering children, beating up real women, men beating up real women, okay, just for saying that there's a difference between men and women. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I want to know, does the FBI have men in dresses that have infiltrated this social class, this group of transgender people? I want to know. I'm just curious about that. What are you doing? Do you have listening devices on them? Are you following them around? Do you go to their meetings? And their church is in the drag shows, in bars and libraries. I just want to know, what are you doing to infiltrate and keep an eye on those terrorists? Because they're the ones marching into schools and shooting things up and killing children. So I want to know. Anyways, let me read this a little bit for a moment, just so you get the gist of this. A tweet listing 4 mass shootings in the past 5 years that were perpetrated by transgender people has gone viral, attracting 5.4 million views as of 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, and the attention of Twitter's owner, Elon Musk. And this article was put out March 28th, 2023, so not too long ago, a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago or so. So in the past 5 years, at least, according to this tweet, 4 mass shootings in the past 5 years were perpetrated by transgender people. And I know it's a little bit higher than that, but at that time and everything, when it was just being talked about, that's what we knew. So we knew at least of a 5th one that was stopped, thank God, because of a tip that the sister of this man, this confused young man, turned him in. They came out, found out he was actually planning on killing a lot of people. So these mass murderers, many of them are transgender. So why are the Catholics being targeted? Say, because of white supremacy. I didn't know that was illegal. I'm not saying, again, I don't agree with it, but I don't know that that's illegal. If people have racist mindsets, that's on them as long as they don't act upon it in an illegal manner. So if that's taking place, if you got some white supremacists that are actually out harming people because of that, yeah, go get them, round them up and put them in prison. But to basically send spies into the Catholic Church to spy on the parishioners primarily, and I'm sure maybe a few priests at the same time, but to spy on them in a church, I believe that's unconstitutional, but transgenderism, I understand it to be a religion, a false, failed religion, of course, and the god of that religion is self, a strange image of self, but nonetheless self, but it's not an official religion. So the FBI can easily, probably without getting anybody's approval, can put, can you imagine a bunch of FBI agents in dresses, dressed as drag, inside drag shows, trying to spy on the transgender community? I mean, it's just funny, but why aren't they doing it? Why aren't they doing it? This blows my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll put the links to 3 articles up in the comment or description section of this episode so that you can read these for yourself. But again, ladies and gentlemen, are we still living in America? I thought this was the United States of America, not commie states of America. And a lot of you people out there, we need socialism. Well, this is socialism, ladies and gentlemen. This is socialism, where you have no real freedom and no real privacy because the government is in on everything in your life. On everything. This is socialism. We're there. We're one step away from full-blown communism. And you guys, there's so many people that still foolishly think this is a good thing. We have communism. We're all going to be equal. Yeah, equally controlled by a tyrannical government. Equally broke. Equally miserable. That's communism. Always has been. Hey, always will be. But the United States of America at least used to be, and it was founded upon freedom, personal choice and freedom. That if you wanted to go to a Latin Mass at a Catholic church, you could do that without fear of some governmental agency or agent there spying on you, trying to find dirt on you so that they can go raid your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just curious, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just curious. What, and if anybody who claims to be a Muslim or is a Muslim, is a Muslim, that listens to this podcast, please write me, because I'm just curious to know, and this really is just curiosity. This is nothing for or against the Muslim church or Islam itself. I'm just curious. How do you think this would fly, or how would this be treated if the Muslim community in America found out the FBI had actually infiltrated their mosques and have been listening to them, listening to their conversations, listening to their prayers, listening to their counseling sessions with their mosque leaders? How would that fly if they found that out? I mean, I'm just curious if let's say they found several listening devices, spy listening devices in their mosque, and it traced back to the FBI. What if there was a leaked memo that the FBI had this program of infiltrating mosques because of homeland terrorism, and they were actually spying on the people that go to these mosques to be part of the. Again, I know very little about Islam, whatever they call their services, the prayer meetings, whatever. You go there just to pray. You go there to listen to a message from the leader of the mosque or the teacher. I'm just curious, what would you all do if you found out that the FBI had targeted you for terrorism? Just, and even maybe selected certain ones. I'm just curious, would there be an uprising, or would you just brush it off? Because I, for one, I'm frustrated and angry at this. I am so absolutely angry at this. How dare the FBI, any part of the FBI, have this in them to go spy on the citizens of the United States of America in the most sacred time and place of their life while they're in church, and treat them as terrorists. This is disgusting, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that you're just as disgusted as I am. And not only that, but I hope you do something about it. I hope you let your voices be heard, that you rise up and say enough's enough. Enough is enough. Somebody needs to step into the FBI and clip its wings for a lot of reasons. Get the corruption out of there so that those fantastic, awesome FBI agents who are doing their job and just want to do their job can get back to doing their job without having to navigate the muddy waters of corrupt leadership. That's what we need back in our FBI, and that's what we need across this nation. That's what we need back in the White House. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you again, I'm going to say it again. Stop voting Democrat. It's a wicked, evil party. You vote Democrat, you get things like this. You vote Democrat, nothing is safe and no one is safe. You vote Democrat and everything that possibly can be used as a listening device or a spying device becomes a listening and spying device against you, against me, and against the citizens of this United States of America. That they are that wicked, they are that evil. Stop voting Democrat.
You got that right.
Thank you for joining us at Table Flippers. I truly appreciate you. You can write me at gwccrobert@gmail.com. That's gwccrobert@gmail.com. Please let me know how I'm doing. Remember to pick up some of our merchandise. You can find the link at gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Until next time, be continually blessed.